This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, this is a meeting of the Southampton Public Safety Building Committee. It's Monday, July 17th at 2:40? No, 2:30, 2:34?
4:40.
4:40. 4:40. And we'll call meeting to order. Open time for the public. I don't see any public here. And so the next agenda item is review of the meetings, and the review of the meetings goes back to May 30th. If anyone's had a chance to review the meeting minutes or have any comments on them. Well, thanks Cindy for preparing the meetings minutes.
Minutes, yeah.
I move to accept them as written.
Motion made to accept. Here a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we get down to the meat of the project. Tonight's meeting is a review of HKT's revised cost and scope of work proposal. It took a while to get it to us, but we finally got it. It was revised on June 27th. The original proposal was May 22nd. We want to go through each one of the items by item as to how they were reduced in scope and the associated change in fee. Is that something you're interested in doing? I did prepare a couple of cheat sheets which were the revised fee schedule and the original fee schedule, if you want to look at those to look at side by side.
There's one extra there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, John, sorry.
I don't know exactly how we want to proceed with that. We'll just go through with the new task and not really worry too much about the previous task, or just make sure that we're getting what we're contracting for. Anyone have a preference about how we want to proceed the discussion?
I think any way you think is good for me.
Okay. We had a very good discussion with HKT about changing scope, and I think they've changed the scopes quite a bit. The bottom line is the cost difference is around $19,400, which is a change in scope, total fee. The task one, Space Needs Assessment Program, is $13,275. And basically the way they changed that around was they eliminated task 0 as a kickoff visioning meeting. They had proposed to come here, make a public presentation, public meeting to get some input from the community, and we felt that wasn't really necessary. So we said, let's just roll this thing into a space needs assessment, do it visually by remote, and eliminate some of that money. And so the space needs assessment and program development went down to $13,275, which is basically what they had before. Site evaluation, we asked them to really scrutinize what we had already done for our sites, both with the senior center, the existing engineering facilities and engineering studies, and to relook at that and have their consultants look at that. And the price went from $26,300 down to $22,900. So it was down around $4,000 by having them reevaluate the existing data that we have. Conceptual design, they had originally was $79,000, and we rolled it back to $73,000. We said we didn't need to have an extensive design on all 4 of the sites. They would more concentrate the conceptual design on the 2 final sites that we have and reduce the scope of that, and allow them to use a block diagram rather than detailed design for the 2 sites, and they could reduce the scope somewhat with that. Total project cost estimate, the original price was $15,000 and went up to $16,000. Basically, they had to talk with their consultants, and I'm not sure why it went from $15,000 to $16,000.
You can explain it.
Pardon?
I think they explain it
I think they explained it
in the discussion.
I know that they didn't have much flexibility because the cost proposal was done by an outside cost consultant.
Yeah, the rationale, I think, on task 4 is with the cost estimates removed from the task 3 scope, additional time will be required to develop a cost estimate from scratch under task 4. That
Okay.
seems to be the rationale
Right.
for their increase.
Evaluation of existing facilities comparing to other communities, they are excluding that. We felt that we could undertake that task ourselves, and wasn't any need to have a Boston firm come here and spend a lot of time and our money doing something I think we could probably do as well.
I think you skipped 5 and 6, though.
Pardon?
You skipped 5 and 6.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Project operating costs, again, outside consultant doing that. I think that's important that we have to continue to provide that service. And options on green design, same thing. They had to make a narrative on that. So they felt that that was important, that they have to provide their sub-consultants the criteria for coming up with the green designs and how that could affect the 2 projects. Like I've just mentioned, the existing facilities, how we would do that ourselves, and made the caveat that we would have that evaluation rolled into their final project with the understanding that it was prepared by us, so that we would retain the liability for it, but they would incorporate it in a final project. Comprehensive final report and presentation, that would remain the same.
Excuse me.
Mark, that
Yes.
presentation how is that going to be? Is that PowerPoint, look at a video?
PowerPoint, and coming and actually making a presentation to the committees and to the town.
It's on page 8 of their proposal. They'll deliver a draft report, a final report, both the digital on 2 flash drives and 3 hard copies, and a PowerPoint, and then 1 in-person presentation at town meeting. That's under 8, task 8.
Right.
That's 8B.
So if, I'm just talking out loud here, but if we go to town meeting on presentation, is Robert Floyd going to allow a presentation at town meeting?
I
He
believe,
has before.
Ed, you can take a vote from the town members to see if they will allow an outside party to make a presentation.
All right.
I've seen that happen before.
I'm just thinking maybe it should be pre-videotaped so it can be run on the local channel. I'm just thinking here.
Sometimes the presentations is a Q&A afterwards. It's nice to have them present to do the Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're a long ways away from that. I'm just.
And town meeting presentation, I'm not a little bit confused about task 8AA and 8B. I think they rolled that into task 8 before they had separated those 2 out. So the total base fee was $159,061. Previous total fee was $178,468, which is a $19,409 difference. They retained 2 add-on options. If after to make the original presentation to the community, we decided that, gee, we'd really like you to come back. There were a lot of questions and we want to revise it and do a revision and make the second presentation. They gave us a fee to do that, to go back and revise, listen to comments, and make a second presentation. And that would be an add-on fee, and that remained the same cost as they had previously. And add-on option is the site evaluation of a fourth site. I'm not sure exactly what the fourth site was, if I don't remember correctly.
The four sites are 0 College Highway,
Right, we already have them doing the original.
the 2 sites on Clark,
Right.
and
And this site.
this
yeah.
site, 210, so that's 4.
Yeah, but that says of a fourth.
The fourth site. Wasn't quite sure what that was.
It is assumed and attested that the 4th site will be the preferred site for the senior center.
All right, so they're holding that
So they're
site.
holding that, so we basically don't run up the cost ourselves. So it'd be probably this site, Warren Keystone, and 0 College Highway would be the 3, I would guess.
Can I ask a question about the decision on, I know there were some other factors that had to be addressed on the senior center project, such as having court review certain aspects of the will, et cetera. But where is that, and how might that feed into this question of a 4th site? In other words, are they going to be pretty close, meaning the senior center building committee, to making decisions regarding the actual use of that site that was selected?
You're going to get my patented answer to this. I cannot answer a question that is out of my control. It's in the court.
It's still in the courts, that's the answer. Gotcha. I will say, when I went to the, I report to the seniors, when I went to the Council on Aging, Friends of Council on Aging, a couple of the seniors were like, they didn't want to give up their site, if you will. Fair enough, and they understood that things are still, at the time anyway, in an unresolved place, but they still are, because they're still in the courts.
Correct.
I gotcha.
And welcome to our new chair. Congratulations, go up and take your seat.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good idea.
So, we have a new price proposal. I'm not sure exactly what our next step is. I know last time we were here, Ed and I and Chris were authorized to negotiate a fee with the consultant. We've come back to the committee, we revised the fee, negotiated a new fee. I'm not sure what the next technical step is. The first one is to see how the committee feels about the revised fee, or do we need to go back, or is it seems acceptable?
That is the next step.
Pardon?
You're correct, that is the next step.
Yeah. So do we have any comments regarding the revised scope and fee?
What is our budget limit?
I think we have $170,000.
175, wasn't it?
$175,000.
So we're under that threshold.
When we met last week without a quorum, my comment was that this is within the budget. It's less than what Ed was told, of $200,000. I would like to see us just move forward and get going on the project, not nickel and dime them.
Basic.
Is that a motion?
Kelly's response, or-
Mark
comment?
asked for comments, and so it's not a motion, it was a comment.
Any other comments regarding the revised budget and scope?
Well, one comment that I had last week was, and Charlie, you sort of revised what I had to say, the water recharge district, I forget, how did you phrase that?
Oh, you were focusing on, is it over an aquifer?
That's right.
What we need to determine, is it over a recharge area of a public water supply?
Okay.
Because you could be over an aquifer, but it doesn't have any impact on anything.
Okay. That was just one comment. Wouldn't change the fee necessarily, Mark, but under the section task 2, and I'm not exactly sure what bullet point it would fall under, environmental screening of potential properties or stormwater drainage assessment.
Environmental screening.
It would fall under environmental screening?
You're talking about
Okay.
just a zone 2?
I think all of them are Zone 2. I think
Yeah.
that's been
Yeah.
written in some documents.
Okay.
But being, you know, Mark, being a zone 2 doesn't mean it's a tributary or a tribute to a drinking water supply as much as a recharge area. So if it's designated as a recharge area, then we know we have potential risk.
I just felt it needed to be spelled out in their report that it is perhaps a drinking water recharge area, and it wasn't specified under environmental screening. That was my comment.
I use the word assume, but that's the process that they should evaluate in environmental screening. That should be one of the criteria.
It's a given that that's part of it, that it,
We didn't tell them to look for every single thing. Environmental screening would be one of the
Anything.
criteria.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely would bring that up to make sure that it's included.
Yeah, you can add it at the first meeting.
Right. It's not a major determination as to figure it out. It's a review of the
Yeah.
database.
okay.
But we make sure to make a note to include that in our first discussion with them.
Okay.
Chris is on her way.
Okay. So do we want to wait for Chris to come before we make the
Well,
decision?
considering she was part of the negotiations and the discussion, would probably be good to get her input if she's on her
Yeah.
way.
I think so too.
Well, do you know what her time frame is? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
I would say if she's on her way, it's 5 minutes.
Okay.
Shouldn't be any more than that.
We want to table this for 5 minutes and move on to the next item, which is planned for a Zoom meeting with HKT.
Sure.
So let's make the assumption either way that we were engaged with HKT. I think the first thing to do was, our original scope was to sit down and essentially have an introduction, free-for-all, basically, with the committee and HKT, and hear their input and have our input and get off to a good first start. Is there a time frame that we want to shoot for, or is that another case where we'll see what their schedule availability is?
Well, the contract has to be signed first.
Correct.
All right, I'm just trying to, assuming that we can,
But what's the next step as far as signing the contract? Is that?
Select board has to sign and HKT has to sign.
And that has to go onto the select board agenda?
Correct.
And how does it get onto there? Chris will direct it, make sure that it's on
Either Chris or I will.
for not this week's meeting, but for,
August 1st will be the next one.
okay, so it has to be,
after August 1st.
well, yeah, and allow time for the signing of the
Right.
contracts, yeah.
Okay. But can we sort of concurrently propose a few dates for when we could do
Well, I
that?
think if we think we're on a go,
Because
hopefully
it's taking
proceed in
forever.
good faith that we will execute something as far as executing a contract. So if we feel that the select board optimistically approves something August 1st and the signatures go back and forth, I'd say sometime in the first week of August, we could set up a Zoom with HKT. I know they're a office that normally works 9 to 5, I would assume. We think it's better to do an evening meeting when we have everybody here, or try to do it during the day, during their office hours.
Well, if they're not available after 5, I mean, they're probably not,
Yeah.
what you just said, so sounds
Well,
like a daytime meeting.
I agree and disagree. We're hiring somebody for a lot of money to be available to us.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been to, I don't know how many night meetings, but it'd be no reason we can't accommodate them if we can. I mean, it's a two-way street here.
Should we give them a couple different dates? Would that work best?
The
Who would not be
4th.
available for a daytime meeting within this community, you know?
I'm away both those first 2 weeks, but I'm going to do my darndest to zoom in if I can.
I'm best at 4:30 or after 4:30.
I'm available. I got things on the schedules, but
How about you guys? you available
Generally available?
during the daytime or evening?
Yeah, later in the day is probably better.
So kind of around Chris's time?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I would try to drive it towards the same 4:30 we've always done and let
Right.
them say no.
Okay.
You still
Is that
work
good
at
for you?
4:30.
Do we think we ought to try the first Monday after August 1st, is just to keep things on a regular schedule?
What is
Do you
it?
think things can move forward that quickly if it goes before the select board on the 1st, that we'd be ready for the following Monday?
Yeah, I can probably even reverse the normal process as long as they sign it in a timely manner and have HKT sign it first and the select board sign it second.
I don't remember their contract proposal. Did they require a retainer?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I think everybody invoices as percent
Yeah.
complete.
First thing I'll be looking for is after that meeting, renegotiating meeting with you and Chris, did they send a full proposal back for the 158? Because I'll be looking to attach that to the contract.
Also, we need to know about the finish date, whether they are suggesting that that has to be pushed off from the November 22nd.
Yeah, that's what.
So I would imagine they would at this point. We'll find out.
But we do have to have it nail down a finish date and approve it.
So is I don't know what the first,
7th.
the 7th?
August 7th is the first Monday.
I could do that.
I mean, between now and August 7th, even without the formal signature from the select board, the contracts, we can still, hopefully, can negotiate and contact and have conversations with HKT and again, move forward in good faith so they can help schedule a meeting with the assumption that things will be completed by then. So we want to tentatively schedule a meeting for the 7th if we can coordinate something with HKT
Via Zoom.
via Zoom.
Sounds good. So we all could meet via Zoom versus trying to be in this room.
We could, yeah, we could all, I don't know, have to have some help facilitating that. I would anyway, but.
What, the
if
Zoom meeting?
If we have everything Zoomed, yeah.
That's right. I think Ed's office usually sets up the Zoom meeting when it's.
Judy will
public-
set it up for you. I won't be here on that week of the 7th, but Judy can set it up for you.
Do you need to be here? Do you think it would be helpful?
I don't need to be here, no.
Okay.
Is there a complication in having part Zoom, part public?
No, let's have all Zoom. Can we all be Zoom? Is it better for you? Is it bad for you to?
Yeah, I don't care for Zoom meetings, but if that's what the committee wants, I'll go along with it.
You can do a live with
Combo.
them being the remote participant in that via Zoom. You can do it that way.
Right, but if everybody else wants to do Zoom, then I'd be here by myself.
Maybe we should bring Chris up to date where we are.
Yeah.
No, just,
So.
sorry I'm late,
let's
guys. Had a,
Finish up that conversation that we just had. We're proposing to have a meeting on the 7th if we can facilitate something with HKT. Is there a motion to do that, or do we need one?
I'll just let Chris, so Chris, what we're talking about is the assumption that the select board is going to sign the contract at the meeting of August 1st, we hope that that'll work. And that what we're going to do is propose the August 7th, which is the first Monday. We talked about when would be the best time for this committee, and we're staying with the 4:30 on a Monday. So the proposed first meeting we do with HKT would be Zoom on August 7th at 4:30. And so I move that we propose that we have the first meeting be August 7th via Zoom.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second.
Yeah, I'm going to comment on that. I think between now and then, we would contact, I can contact, or someone can contact HKT and see if that is a viable time and date for them as well.
Okay, so I'll modify my motion slightly if it is a viable date for HKT.
So let's go back. That's been,
We have to vote on it.
yeah. Motion's been made,
I'll second that.
been seconded. Any comments? Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. We jumped out of schedule for our agenda. We're going to go back to review of HKT's revised cost and scope proposal. Chris, we went through the different items and compared the previous proposal cost and scope and the proposed cost and scope. And before we took a final vote, we felt it was prudent to have you here to have any comments, if you have any, regarding the change in cost. It's about a $19,400 decrease, which is decrease in fee and decrease in scope. We've had a little bit of chance to round table. I don't know if you had any comments regarding.
No, from the other meeting, I didn't have anything else. I think the conversation went well the day that we had them on the phone, and they seemed to take a lot of that into consideration. And, this seems to be the bare bones of what they're willing to try and propose. And I didn't see anything else that we thought we could cut in terms of any other, in-person meetings or anything. We cut that initial, the visioning one, right? And so we still have 2 meetings built in, but, we may decide as we go along that something will change, and we may want another one, but who knows at this point in time. But I think we talked about a couple things last meeting, even though we didn't officially meet because we had to cancel. But, I think the one thing that Cindy brought up at that time is we just wanted to be sure that they understood that we're sitting on an aquifer. That was the thing that.
Well, we kind of revised that too. We talked about later.
But other than that, no, I mean, I think they did a decent job of trying to pare things down, and it seems like it's a reasonable amount. I mean, I don't think we can spend a lot of time going back and forth and cutting another 5,000 here and there. I mean, I think we've got to get the work underway.
I concur. Well, is there a motion to accept the revised proposal of June 27th from HKT? I'd make a recommendation as such.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Charlie,
Second?
seconded by Christina. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's passed unanimously. Again, we went a little bit over the process. Ed, I guess, is there anything more we need to do? Are we making a recommendation to the select board for?
Oh, yeah, when time comes and I put that contract in front of me, it's got HKT's signature on it, I'm sure one of the 5 is going to ask if this committee has looked at that and is making a recommendation to that, so. But if you have approved the fee and the scope of work, that's basically the same thing.
Okay.
Either Chris or I will, or both of us will take that back to the select board.
Okay, so we don't need to make any formal.
If you make a formal vote to accept their proposal, I would say that's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at most, what you could do, maybe Mark could just write an email just saying that, at the meeting of today, a motion was made and seconded to accept the proposal and the cost as outlined in the revised version. And you could send that to Ed, who would then forward it to all the select boards, so we've got that too.
I will do that. Okay, good. We're moving forward. Again, this is where we're finally starting the process, hopefully, with a signed contract. And I think one of the biggest things we've said since I've been on this committee anyway, is plan for public engagement. We have to sell this thing to the public, and we keep talking about how important that is. Well, I think it's not a bad time to at least lay some foundations about how we want to proceed with that process. And I'm hearing a wonderful slew of suggestions coming at me here.
I wouldn't want to engage the public until the contracts are signed and sealed. Then I think we need to reach out to the public.
Oh, I agree. I'm talking about
Just in general.
rather than waiting till
We're just talking about
3
how to
weeks from
do it.
now, and then say, what are we gonna do? Again, using the terrible word assumption that things are going forward, and maybe it's 3 weeks or a month from now, or 2 months from now, I think it's a good start laying down the foundation of how we think we ought to proceed with the public communication. We've talked before about making videos. We talked about hiring a PR firm. We need to at least start getting some ideas.
If the media agrees to film, or, coordinate with us to, video our complex, or our current stations rather.
What about asking East Hampton Media what they think would be the best way of opening this conversation with the public?
Well, what's his name? The gentleman that's... Jeff. He told us, remember, that he had experience doing this in a previous position. So that's not a bad idea to ask. Maybe the little mini committee that we formed, you and I and John, should have a little meeting with him at some point, just to get his input, either Zoom or in person, to how he might like to proceed.
I mean,
That's the idea of...
They kind of run a PSA sometimes. I know we've had them do that, but it's short. I mean, it's not terribly lengthy. So, I mean, you might have a 2-3 minute PSA of just basic information, but certainly I think they have the ability to come and do some documentation of things.
We can do that. We can also offer personal tours. Have a date and schedule a couple personal tours of the buildings.
Mhm.
I think in person is... Go ahead.
I've got a radical idea for that. I think this fall, we should have a combined fire, EMS, police, public safety day. I might know some people will kick in some money so that there might be an ice cream truck to draw families and give the tours in.
Why is that radical? It's a great idea.
Yeah. No, I think any kind of a tour of the stations, I think, would be good. So, I mean, probably more than one day, availability given people's travel times during the summer. But I think we need to get the public out to take a look at what the real reality is. They hear a little bit on social media, but for those that are not intimately involved, they really have no clue what's going on.
Almost like a big rig day, but for fire station.
The people that have talked to me have said things like, what's going on with the senior center? So I think what we need to be prepared for is people wanting clarification on how does this dovetail or not with the senior center. That to me is, that question will probably come up no matter what we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have a little more information about that, so we can say that's different and here's that and this is public safety. It's just people are confused. They don't know.
I don't think many people know that the senior center is held up in the courts.
Well, not that specific reason, yeah.
But I think people are wondering where it stands.
It's true.
May I ask what court it's being held up in? Is it probate court?
I think Ed should maybe answer that. What is the court aspect of the senior center?
I don't know if it'd be probate or just general court.
Well, it's either Superior Court or probate court.
One or the other.
It can't be housing. It's not district.
No.
Somebody piss somebody off.
Is it just for clarification to make sure everything is consistent with the terms of the will?
It's basically asking the court, does what we did meet the terms of the will?
So I think any kind of a public open house would be great, and maybe, I'm trying to think of, the fire trucks are usually out at the Conant Park, or a couple of them anyway, for Celebrate Southampton. They were a big hit last year on that weekend, which is August 11th and 12th. So kids could climb all over the fire trucks anyway. I don't know that lends itself necessarily to any tour at that particular time, but...
I don't know if it would. I only say that because a lot of people don't land on the weekends, especially in the summer. I think it would be more...
That's why I'm thinking fall.
Fall, it's probably, the weeknight or something along
Yeah,
those
something
lines.
like that, yeah.
Does the fire department have a fire prevention week activity?
I don't believe so. Not in a public arena, maybe to the school and so forth, but I think every Thursday night they meet for training, and we can coordinate with them as well for that. But I do believe that a weeknight where it's not vacation season would probably be better. We'd get a better response from people coming if you want to be advertised it well.
I guess I would wonder, could there be several, could on Celebrate Southampton weekend, the stations be open? Like the Clark Chapman House is open for people who want to tour and then have a more organized. It seems as though you can only given the cramped nature of the facilities, that you can't give tours to that many people at one time. I don't know, I'm just
No, maybe
talking.
not, or, I don't want to speak on behalf of the fire department, it is absolutely cramped there, but I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, how many people are really going to go to the tours, right? If you think in the grand scheme of things, in this community of 6,300 people, how many are really thinking about the public safety complex or the senior center, really? It's very marginal, it really is. And until, so that's where we have to get that, it's so important to get that out there. We have to get the information out to everybody.
So are you saying the tours, as soon as 3 weeks from now, that's too soon, that we need to sort of prepare some?
I'm just thinking availability. I mean, availability of people going, and also availability of, I know, for instance, I can never attend for myself, the particular weekend of Celebrate Southampton, because it's a personal day for my family. It's a specific day usually on that weekend.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be around.
Okay, so you're discouraging any of these tours to,
I'm not
on
discouraging.
Celebrate? No, not in general, but at Celebrate Southampton.
I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
or we have multiple ones.
Yeah, multiple ones is probably good.
But we could, it could be some, talking to the interim fire chief, at least, we could have some notices or something at Celebrate, if the trucks are there, put up a notice saying, hey, take a look at the trucks today, next month we're thinking about having a tour of the fire station, just start getting the word out that way without really, organizing it as a tour thing, because Celebrate is usually very busy with all the picnic and the craft vendors, and it's a busy day, and people kind of go toward the park, and I don't know, it's hard, even if we got 2 or 3 people that toured Clark Chapman or the old schoolhouse, that would be a miracle.
So I really don't get, so basically you're saying what Ian is saying, that there's
Yes.
a lot of touring people that day.
Yes.
They're doing other things over here.
Right, so
Okay.
the fall idea for tours, I think is great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we can start getting the word out about the idea of having tours.
What about some kind of a questionnaire, a probing questionnaire that people could respond to? What do you know about our public safety complexes, that we could then collect some data? I mean, it wouldn't be an official scientific study at anything, but we can sort of get comments from people. What do people think of that? They could be available in town hall, they could be available. I'm not a big Facebook person,
Do a Survey Monkey
person. A Survey Monkey like we did for the master plan? Yeah, that's a good idea.
What kind of questions, I guess, you're asking?
What do you know about your public safety?
Figure out the question.
I mean, I think we made it.
Yeah, how old do you think the fire station is?
Yeah.
What is your idea of the strengths of the fire station or the weaknesses?
Or maybe more of an information pamphlet rather than asking them.
Well, sometimes if you ask, you get thinking, But an information pamphlet's a good idea too.
You just got me laughing. Maybe what we really need to do is have a lottery to guess the age of the fire station.
There you go.
Yeah. But age alone is not the biggest issue, it's all the other aspects
No, but it'll
of
get
it.
their attention
Yeah.
because they all get drawn to lotteries.
Is it true that the police station has an issue with mice? I've heard this. Is this true?
Oh, no, they never have mice.
There's mice, there's ants, there's flying squirrels. We've been visited by flying squirrels.
We've got nice hair.
Well, I'm in my house, so I know it is Southampton.
In
but-
the eaves, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And following on Cindy's thought, what we might do, is, given that we're going to have this hopefully meeting with HKT on the 1st, let's maybe bring that idea up with them and see what they think about it.
It's not on the first, it's on the
Whatever day it was, the 7th.
7th. Oh, that's a good idea.
In lieu of the visioning meeting, I mean, how could we do something, just to get some discussion going, maybe?
That's good.
Good
With the
idea,
residents,
yeah.
without really having a visioning meeting per se, but maybe there's something like that with a little survey that could be done. We have to think about what we want to ask though, but.
Is Southampton the oldest fire department building in Western Mass? Have we reached that honor yet?
I don't know the answer to that.
I actually think it is pretty close.
I think so.
Well, these are great for, brainstorming.
Right. But again, we have two pamphlet suggestions. One is a questionnaire, one is a informational one.
I would submit.
We have pull a subcommittee to create a pamphlet or a draft.
I just have a comment on that. I think if you ask it's another step, right? If you have the questionnaire, we're then gonna have to answer with an informational packet, right? It's a two-step process. Because if we send out the questions, we then have to answer them.
Well, that tells us what we need to put in the little pamphlet then, kind of. If we get a lot of people that don't understand certain things, then we understand what they need to, it's just a thought, it doesn't.
No, I get it. I'm just thinking if we know what the questions are, we're gonna put in the survey monkey, and they can only, if it's a yes or no, or if it's a guess, and those are the questions we're gonna put in the survey monkey, we can just put those that correct information in a pamphlet and lessen them. Or that survey monkey will also give you a feel of how many people will even respond to our endeavor here, right? So if we only get 5 responses from Survey Monkey, we might be in trouble, right?
Yeah.
But if we get 400, hey, we might be in good hands.
We sort of exceeded expectations of Pioneer Valley Planning Commission when we did the master plan survey monkey thing, right? Percentage-wise, I forgot what they're sort of, usually they think 5% is great, and we went up higher than that. I can't remember what they were, Chris.
Yeah, we had close to 800 or 900 responses.
Yeah. So, but there was a lot of advertising too. There was a lot of effort to get people to respond. So, I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to get people involved.
I think about getting the information out there. I've always been leery about, let's make a presentation, but we don't have anything to present really yet. I don't want to have people have false expectations, but I think we do need to get it out there. More people know that we are working on this. There is a process instituted to address the public safety complex. At least let them know that so they can maybe start tweaking their curiosity about what is going on, what we can do.
Well, that's the major message right now. We are working on it.
Right. I think immediately people come back, well, what are you going to do? Where's it going to be? But we have to make sure we couch that with, that's what we're trying to figure out. To let them know is going. Again, have it on their radar to keep looking out for something.
Okay.
Again, I think HKT might be a good source to bounce this off of.
Good.
Again, nice to get that process rolling, at least mentally. I guess the next item on our agenda is the committee composition. I assume that you all know that Don Warren submitted his letter of resignation to the committee. And I have an official letter. I don't know if we need to send that to the select board or not. But with Don being gone, we had, you came back on board.
Well, yeah, I had a little hiatus there, a short period of time because of the end of a term. But Don was appointed from the Historic Commission.
Right. That's correct. He was. So the Historical Commission has to meet. The Historical Commission is down 3 people. And so we are in need of meeting. We have a bare quorum. But we need to get new people on board, and then the Historical Commission will reappoint or appoint a new rep.
But you could be that rep.
But I could be, but the Historical Commission has not met to appoint me or someone else. And I spoke with Bob Kozub, who's the chair, and he's, given his personal situation, not able to put a great deal of effort into the Historical Commission, but he does know that he's reaching out to someone who showed interest before, and I called Lucy today to see how we would post, and Ed, you can answer this. She thought that maybe is there a way to publicly post, officially post openings for commission?
Yes,
and is that your responsibility to make that post, or can you describe what the process is,
It's
please?
either I or Chris's or somewhere in between, so one of us will get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because on the website, there's a volunteer page, so it's, here's the committees that have openings,
In
and
fact-
here's the application.
In fact, over this weekend, I was just thinking about making a mass listing again of committees that had openings.
I think the challenge with that, a little bit, just in general, for anybody who's on various committees, is that we have a list of, here's an opening on committee X, but people don't really have a good sense of, well, so maybe I'm interested, but what does the committee do? So that's where I think we're lacking, unless they went to everybody's individual committee page to understand sort of the, the preamble about what a committee, that particular committee does. It's kind of hard for people to marry the idea of a vacancy on committee X with what that committee does. So there's a bit of a gap there. So, I think the easiest way it's happened is for people to reach out to people and say, hey, look, Historical's got an opening, we're going to be having a meeting in 2 weeks, if you're interested, come to the meeting and hear what we do, and, reach out and talk to people personally.
But that's
We have
what,
the ability, what do you think about linking it back? Much like we do
We
with
might.
job postings, of
Yeah.
doing, okay, here's the listing, and then at the end of that particular, saying there's 2 openings or whatever it is on historic,
Tie it back to that committee.
Yeah.
I think we can do that.
Click here for the historical page and more information or something.
I think we could probably do that, yeah. So that would help, I think, for people to understand. People don't know what they're getting into or what the time commitment is. That's usually the question I get is, well, yeah, I'm interested, but how much time is this going to take, So I think that's the kind of thing, we meet once a month, or we meet bi-weekly, or, people just need to understand a little bit more of the parameters before they volunteer, I think, sometimes. But there is a way to put it up on the page, on our new voice, on our new website, rather.
and I think one of the newer bylaws says that it's up to the committees and commissions to actually recruit new members, but the flaw with that, in my opinion, is that the word only sort of gets out to people we know, and I don't know that many people, it doesn't engage.
You want to broaden the spectrum. Right, you want to broaden the spectrum, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
So an official listing and word of mouth,
Yeah.
I guess, but thank you for doing that. So we do need 3.
Is it trade? Okay, thanks.
We've been down one for,
We're a committee of 11 or 12. You're ex officio, but
Right, 11 voting members.
we're 11 voting.
That's what makes the quorum
1,
6.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so we have currently 2 openings. The Finance Committee hasn't appointed anybody, and Historical has to appoint someone. But I'm missing a 3rd opening.
I think it's an at-large.
Is it an at-large one? Additional? Pardon me?
Because the fire chief, John Workman is still on.
Yep, I got him. So we got Fire Department, Police Department, Select Board,
Might be an at-large one.
oh,
Yeah.
no, I didn't, hold on.
I've got so many charges in my head, I'll mess them up. I know one of them, but I don't know if it's this one or not. Actually says, depending on how everything else falls, that there can be 4 or 5 from at large. And I can't remember if it's this one or not.
Oh, I don't know.
but when Mark came on, and there was several people interested, there was only room for 1, so, and nobody's
Well,
dropped
missing up
out.
here is fire, is the
1, 2,
finance.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Finance is missing.
Well, Finance is missing.
Yeah, finance is recomposing itself, so it
Yeah. So
might
that's
get around
all,
to
right?
actually appointing
No,
someone.
then, I think he's right, that we're missing an at-large.
Oh, so there's not that large missing as well.
I think so, yeah.
And if Christina takes the historic commission slot, and that opens up another at-large.
Or if we have another historical commission member who takes his rep, and I'll stay on the at-large.
Would you say again, repeat that last thing you just said?
Another option is for a new historical commission member to
Yes.
be the rep, and I will just stay in my current position.
Okay. I just want to be clear, we also have an opening right now for an at-large position, I
Right.
believe. Okay.
We have two openings right now.
So I wonder about asking a particular individual who's an engineer and who was on the senior center feasibility study. I don't know if that individual would be willing to consider being on this committee, but I have to say, I was on a few of the Zoom meetings for the senior center feasibility study, and that person was pretty capable. A little hesitant to say the name out loud because I don't think it's fair to the person, but I just didn't know how you all thought about approaching one of those people.
If there was.
You also have several individuals that were interested, that there weren't enough slots for, that didn't accept it, so they may still be interested.
What's the best, this is a select board decision, right, how to go about
Yes,
doing this?
correct.
Right. So are you saying you might reopen it for applications for the individuals that are?
Well, if you got openings that aren't from particular designations,
Yeah,
you absolutely have to open it up.
reopen it, because some people came back.
Right.
Reopen it. So I guess that's a request for the select board to reopen it. Does that make sense? Yeah? I'm looking at Chris. Does that make sense to you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, if we have an at-large opening, yeah, we need to let people know that there's an at-large, at least an at-large seat open.
Okay. Okay. So therefore, it's anybody knows if it's somebody that might be interested, they should contact them.
Anybody and everybody.
Okay.
And that gets posted on the website?
How to do that, yeah.
I mean, how do people know that?
Again, word of mouth,
There's
website, anybody.
Yeah, a lot happens word of mouth actually too. But we do try to announce at select board periodically, there's, we need volunteers, there's openings here, and so it filters out on the Facebook pages, et cetera. But yeah, just get the word out that we need volunteers for a variety of committees.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we're proceeding on trying to get some more committee members. Is there any other business that we need to discuss before we close shop?
You need to reformulate.
Reformulate.
What's that? I didn't hear what he said. What do we have to do?
Reformulate, that's what the minutes say, the agenda says.
Reformulate.
Doesn't it?
I don't see that.
Schedule next meeting is the next thing now.
Yeah, right now we're discussing any other business anybody has. And then,
Discuss committee composition.
We just did.
we just did. And we were talking about trying to get in,
Oh, okay, we
Fill
were
the,
talking about chair, vice chair, and any of that stuff.
no, we're talking about getting new people in here.
Oh, okay.
And then any other items to discuss? And we had already proposed a next meeting for August 11th.
No, August 7th at 4:30
August
via
7th.
Zoom. Can you call this an official request for Judy to set that up, or do you need an email for that?
I won't remember 5 minutes from now, Cindy, I'll be honest with you. So yes, you reach out to Judy.
Or do you want me to do
Please.
that? Judy works in this office. Do you want me to request the Zoom invitation?
Yes.
Okay.
But we need to confirm with HKT
Yeah.
first.
It can be not used if it's not done.
So our next meeting is when?
August 7th.
You might have said that's Zoom with HKT, right?
Yes.
Right.
So do we need to come up with a plan as to exactly what that Zoom meeting is going to entail and what we should be preparing for?
I my personal opinion was it was almost a meet and greet to have us just sit down with HKT, and we had one of the questions, was there any suggestions on public format or public presentation or getting the community out there. But I think each one of us can come up with a list of questions or ideas that we would like to have a open roundtable discussion with HKT. Call and roll up your shirts, sleeves, and let's sit down and talk.
This is open to everybody, it's a question I have. What should I focus on those questions? At this stage, where do we want to focus?
Well, I think you hit it exactly on the nail on the head. That's what we want to figure out. HKT and us are trying to figure out, how do we get this ball rolling? What's the best way to get it going?
All right.
And I think that's my intention.
This is kind of what they would consider the kickoff meeting, I think.
Right, that's basically what it is.
I mean, I would think that they would have an agenda of what they would normally do also for their usual kind of kickoff meeting, and then one of the things out of that ought to be what's the date that they're going to come physically and do the tour, because they can't go too much further beyond that without having come and seen the locations in person. Right? So-
Yeah, part of their kickoff meeting that they retained from their previous proposal was they were going to come up with a schedule with the meeting. The cost for the meeting was also the cost to prepare a revised schedule so that we'll know what's going on. That's one of the items we will be discussing, is their schedule and how they propose to implement it and how we would work together as a team.
And I'm just going to remind the committee once more, because I've heard two different opinions earlier in the meeting. You can go about this two different ways. You can do it totally Zoom, which means you're all signing in on your computers from everywhere, which I heard earlier that one person doesn't really like. Or you can do it this way. You can still do it in person, however, it would be in the meeting room downstairs rather than here. And then you can do the remote participation by bringing in HKT and any members of this committee that aren't able to be here in person. Your choice.
Yeah, because we can bring them in on, well, we can't bring them in on the TV screen up here. We can just call them in. We could.
And I'm more comfortable if we try this with the smart TV downstairs.
Okay. So it could be.
Although I won't be here anyway, so you can do whichever room you want. Now that I think about it.
We have to make a decision. I'm willing to come in if we want to have a couple people in the office physically here. The hybrid meeting.
I don't mind coming in.
That's
sometimes it's nice to
three.
have.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
I can accommodate that too, that's not.
4.
Yeah. So I would suggest we will be Zooming, period, because we are Zooming with HKT, but I think it's a hybrid meeting.
So it's
in my
hybrid.
mind, makes better sense.
Okay.
That we have some physical bodies in this building. If the,
Well, I'm not using the hybrid term, because when
Okay.
you use hybrid, you invite the public in that way.
all right,
By saying remote participation, I am not inviting the public in that way. If they want to participate, they're here in the room.
okay.
Okay, with remote participation, that's the terminology, remote participation.
And I'm relying on Cindy to make sure that we have the proper people to talk to set this up.
Then we meet downstairs room rather
Right.
than here.
Okay.
Like I say, I won't be here, so if you want to try it on this TV, you can.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
What do you think, Chris? If it's downstairs better?
Well, hopefully the one downstairs should be able to work. It's bigger, you can see it better.
Right.
Okay. So it's a live meeting,
The live
the
meeting
first floor conference room, the select
Correct.
board room, with remote participation available if
committee.
somebody's not available.
from committee members, yes, and HKT.
Okay.
Great. I think we're through.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
First, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I'm so glad to get together and get going again. This is great.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.